We all know what this is. This is the QR code, of course. The made a big entrance, didn't it, into the UK a number of years ago. I've seen these being used very, very badly, actually, and it puts me off using them now, I think. But we need to be aware of that. If you are going to use QR codes for anything, use them quite creatively and use them smartly. If you scan that one there now, I think that would link to, not just to a website, which is pretty much useless. It would link to the video of the collapsing cauliflower sheep from the food festival in Bridgend a number of years ago, which, to be honest, is much more exciting than going to a website. So I think you've got to use it quite creatively and smartly to entertain the visitor rather than just link to a website on location. That's just my view, but I think that's sometimes the way forward. Innovative uses of QR codes. Yeah, this one's great. I've shown, some of you may have seen this before. It's a building in Tokyo, I think, where the whole building is a QR code. If you stand outside that building and scan it, you can actually see the people working behind the windows, what they are tweeting about at the moment. So it's quite interesting. I'm not saying it's right for us in the civic offices in Bridgend, but it's something that just goes to show the versatility and how creative you can be with these things. More standard uses, of course, this is what we're used to. That's in Manchester, very simple link to further information about the particular asset or facility that you're visiting. I noticed we got one there on Bridgend Bites. We see them everywhere these days. I quite like them when they're used in ways like we see here in Amsterdam, where they set up a trail to take you off the beaten track. Now that really interests me, is how do we get visitors underneath the skin of a destination? How do we take them away from the obvious honeypot areas? And I think by having trails like this one's a great one. It really does take you to areas in Amsterdam that you didn't know existed. And that's a good use of it, even though it's pretty straightforward. Scan it, and it tells you where to go next. Gives you a little bit of bite-sized information and tells you where to go next. So that's quite a good use. One of my favorite uses, and this is a lesson, I think, where a lot of the solutions to tourism, whether tourism marketing, tourism development, whatever you're doing these days, solutions can be found outside of the industry. And I think we need to do that. We need to look at what other people are doing outside of the industry. This is in the estate agency market, and great use for a QR code. You don't have to go into the house. You scan the code, and maybe that shows you exactly what's going on inside. Up pops you a salesperson who's not there in person to annoy you, pops up and explains what the house is all about. Brilliant. Okay, so very, very simple, but things like that we need to think about in tourism. How do we apply lessons from other industry into our own? Now, later on, Matt will be here from Monmouthpedia. Anybody here in Monmouthpedia? Very few. Good, because Matt will show us a very innovative use of QR codes that was done in Monmouthshire using Wikipedia. Wikipedia is huge, and Monmouthshire became the first wiki town, I think, or whatever it was, with Wikipedia backing it 100%, and the publicity they got for that was massive. And it's a really good use of QR codes where you scan the QR code, whatever language your phone is in, it links to that language about that particular thing you're scanning. So if you're outside the town hall and you're French and your phone's in French, you scan the QR code there, it links to the French Wikipedia entry about the town hall. So that's, someone's talking about languages earlier, that's quite a good example, but Matt will tell you about that later. Other ways that we need to provide information, we need to use Wikipedia ourselves, we need to use things like blogs, they're still important, definitely. We need to use them properly to produce content, okay? Let's use different channels, not just the obvious ones. Flickr, of course, with photographs. These are the things that we need to make sure we populate in. Similar with YouTube, there are loads of people who are great at telling stories, and I know that Clive has collated a lot of information on this and a lot of video footage. But if a local person is telling a story, maybe giving a welcome to their village or welcome to their particular heritage attraction, let's get it on YouTube. This is all interpretation. Let's get it on YouTube and let's get people accessing it. Maybe QR codes can link to that. but I think it's a great way of doing it. These are simple, they are cheap, they are free to do, they just take time, but they're effective when done properly. Other examples, of course, one I use quite a lot still, actually, is Foursquare. It's an application that is brilliant for tourism. It's geolocated. You check into a particular attraction or venue that you're visiting, and then it tells you what else is around you. It might even give you a list of recommendations from the business to tell you where to go. So really, really useful, and it also gives reviews as well. So that's something I swear by, actually. I use it to find my way around London in particular. It's really useful. So Foursquare, Pinterest, we've all heard of these. Instagram is another one. You know, the photographs that we take and maybe that our customers are taking of the heritage attractions as they go around. I spent a day in Porthcawl the other day, which is a rare occasion for me because I was doing it as a visitor, which was great, with my wife, and we spent a bit of money, and I was around there taking photographs everywhere, excellent, and populate into Instagram. And I can guarantee you I wasn't the only person doing that, and adding comments about things. So really useful to populate these channels that exist. And this one is probably what's happening at the moment is not only what you are saying, or what the marketeers are saying about the destination. We are very, very interested in what other people are saying. In the same way as social media and TripAdvisor has caused the ripples that we all know far too well about, is in the Imperial War Museum in London, for example, the best way to explain this social interpretation is that whereas they might say, the curator will give their twist on the particular attraction or artifact. However, they then invited people like you and I to come along and give our twist on it, give our thoughts on it, our information, and you're building up these layers of content. And interestingly, the next person coming along is more interested in what you have to say rather than the original curator sometimes. So this is what's happening. Right? It's a tide that's happening, quite scary, but we need to harness it. We need to tap into it, because if other people can do the work for us, brilliant. There's always going to be a need for first layer curation, but actually, let's get other people, if that's what they want to do, and if that's what people want to listen to, let's get them publishing content, because as we said earlier, content is still king. Instagram is an Instagram page for you. How many of you use Instagram, by the way? Is that something which, yeah, it's become huge, isn't it? Owned by Facebook, I think, is it? Is that right? And a great app. Brilliant photographs, and with this one, we did this up in the Cambrian Mountains and started to provide interpretive content about the Cambrian Mountains, and the comments that we had engaging with people from all over the world was great, you know, that they wanted to come and, oh, I didn't know that existed, blah, blah, blah. So we need to do this for this destination. If we want to be seen as being a true digital destination in this neck of the woods, then we need to exploit these channels as well as the others. Clive mentioned gamification earlier. Right, how do I explain what this is? Clive, I mean, wait by. Gamification is, actually Dan looking at me now because he knows I'm going to fail with this, is to define gamification. It is a horrible word. It's something that will probably find itself in the next edition of the English Dictionary, I'm sure. But it's a trend that's happening in the marketplace at the moment where people are craving, if you like, for this game entertainment based on some sort of game or challenge. How's that, Dan? 5 out of 10? I don't know. 8 out of 10, that's really good. Okay, thanks. So it's a trend that's happening, and for some reason, it is happening, okay? And my kids in particular, I mean, they spend their time collecting points. Not all the time, I'm very careful with them, but they're using applications online and collecting points. And I think you see this, and people are doing it all the time. I mentioned Foursquare earlier. You collect points when you check into a place. And ultimately, I'm waiting for them to give me something to cash those points in, where there's a free coffee behind the bar here or something. But there's a way of collecting online currency, really. And I think it's happening, but people are doing it, especially the younger generation. They're doing it massively at the moment, and we need to tap into it. And the app that Clive talked about certainly does that. Other applications that we can use free of charge, and we can use these applications interest me because they are global. They're not something that are bespoke to this area. You can use them anywhere in the world. So actually, they're quite very useful for you as a visitor. This one's called Scavenger. That's Scavenger without any vowels. I think it's spelled there somewhere. Yeah, SCVNGR. I don't know if any of you heard of this or tried it, but it's massive in the States, big again in London. That's what usually happens, isn't it? It starts in the States, comes over, sometimes the other way around. But this app is great because it's a scavenger hunt. It's a game. If you remember the trails that we used to do as kids, really, I don't know if we do this anymore, the treasure hunt with the car, isn't it? You know, you remember this, don't you? And you say, like, go and find these points. That really is gamification, but now it's done online with applications. So you can actually set up your own trail in Porthcawl, wherever you are, set it up, set up a challenge for people. The next person comes along, and they will actually do it, and it will take them into places that you want to take them, or you want to promote. So that is something that can be done free, and it's something that is found on people's phones. Now, the other thing to realize, big businesses are now starting to make sure that their applications are found on smartphones at the time of purchase. TripAdvisor, I think, is one. Their app is now found on the new Samsung phone that comes out. So their app is on there already. So we need to make sure, for instance, that we are playing with TripAdvisor and making sure that that's up to speed with us if it's going to be found on people's phones. So we need to look out for these opportunities and capitalize on them. Scavenger is a good one. This one is quite exciting. I think it's called Citer, possibly the next big thing. Love this one, actually, because it's based on photographs. And they might show you photographs in a town and tell you, go and find these places. It gives you a kind of a hot or cold thing. It says, this photograph is in Porthcawl, go and find it, and you go and find it, and it's telling you whether you're hot or cold. And when you find it, great, you check into it, and then you go to the next one. But it's taking you, it's entertaining you, it's capitalizing on gamification, it's entertaining you, but it's taking you to areas of the destination that probably you wouldn't even go to. So these are the kind of things I think that we need to look at. I mean, why not, if we're going to do this, why can't we do, as in Bridgend, be the best at doing this and promote the fact that we're the best at doing it? Now, not a lot of people are using this at the moment. They've just bought offices next door to TripAdvisor in Dublin, which is the centre of the universe these days as far as digital is concerned, I'm sure. But they're here to stay. Massive, massive operation that is huge in America, and it's going to hit us. So we need to make sure we're up to speed with all this and capitalize on it by creating our own trails. Anything you find that you might, you think, well, how do we know about it? Honestly, search for it. Search for what is Citer. Search on YouTube, search on Google. Find out this content, read up about it. And if you need any more information, again, our blog, we can probably put some best practice on there and some guidelines on it that will benefit everyone here today if you want that kind of thing. Foursquare, Yorkshire there, first destination, an example of doing something well. First destination in the UK, if not Europe, I think, that developed its own Foursquare page for the destination. So this is the kind of thing I think we need to do, is be the first at doing things and do them well and become known for it. And augmented reality, I think Clive has touched upon this, guys, hasn't he? He's gone over what it is. That diagram probably gives some indication. I'm not going to attempt to explain this one, but if you hold your phone up, I'm looking at you now, it's real. If I hold my phone up, then maybe it looks a bit different. And there's a layer in front of it that I can access through my phone that presents you in a different light. I mean, one example that was explained to me the other day, I don't know if this has come in yet, I don't know if it's possible. They said, if you imagine you're in a nightclub or something, and you hold your phone up and you scan like that, or even in this conference, and it'd be great, wouldn't it, that it tells me who you are? Possibly, you know, by looking at my phone. And that's all very, very possible, but that's augmented reality because it's not real. It's just there when I hold my phone up, I can see, oh, that's Rob from Better. Sorry, Rob, you know. So that's kind of the thing that you can do outside of tourism with it, and I'm sure it's going to come our way. Some examples of overlay imagery that fortunately our website, our app, sorry, is going to include. These are from the Street Museum application. If any of you go to London, download the Street Museum application. It's a great one to use, and this one is of the Docklands in London, and you hold your phone up and it shows an image of how that museum looked when it was a grain store or whatever it was 100 years ago or so. So it's really quite interesting and gives an interpretation by imagery and an insight into the past, which is great. There's Carnaby Street, another one on Street Museum. London during the Blitz. All these pictures really demonstrate how you can use this augmented reality application on your phone. And there's one in Amsterdam. I mentioned earlier some applications which are global. Well, Street Museum is, and there we are. That's the Dutch version, showing some delivery van going into one of the canals there. But that's great. That's interpretation. It shows you how things were in the past. It tells you a bit about that destination you're visiting just by holding your phone up. So that's a really good one to do. Other applications we can use, GeoTravel. If you had the GeoTravel app now and held it up in the middle of Porthcawl, you will probably see something like this. There is content on there. Wikitude was what was mentioned earlier. That's another one. If you hold these apps up, you download these apps and hold them up, you will see interpretive content. But we need to make sure that interpretive content is good and it is reflecting what we want to say about this destination. So there are opportunities here, I think, to engage with them and to see how well they are selling our area. TripAdvisor application we talked about. If you look at that now, it has an augmented reality element built into it, in that it tells you how far the places are just by holding your phone up. You can see there, it tells you exactly where the restaurant or the hotel is that's nearby. So that's really quite useful, and that's built into the TripAdvisor app now. Erasmus is another one that you could hear of. You go to London, there we are, it's a good example. What we like about Erasmus is that it doesn't, you don't need a QR code to trigger this. I think it recognizes, Dan, am I right here? And I'm looking at the experts here. It recognizes the building possibly, or the feature. And you can see there that that's Buckingham Palace. You scan it, and then something happens in front of it, which is a dinosaur. Why? I don't know, but it does happen. So that's quite interesting. And this one is something I've been keeping my eye on. I quite like the principle here. I don't know how good it is. It's called Toozler. And what I like about this is that if you plug your phone in, turn your Toozler app on, first of all, you could record a Toozler trail throughout this area. You can publish it. The next person comes along, plugs their earphones in, they walk around. As they walk around certain points, the satellite kicks in, and it tells you exactly what you've recorded about that particular point in space and using GPS. So you can see the potential of that as you walk around. There's commentary that you've recorded, kicks in to inform and educate and enhance the visitor experience. Now, what I do like about this as well is that, it explains what it is. Audio tours. It also has user content. Remember we said earlier about the interpretation content, social interpretation? Well, this also allows other people to comment on that Toozler commentary or possibly that particular facet that you're promoting. So really useful in that it engages with the social element and side of things as well. And if we go on, there you go, that's a good example. That's probably in Moscow, I think. And it says, there we are, they speak English here, nice coffee, fast service. It gives an insight into the service as well. So that's the kind of thing that people want these days. And it's happening, it's free to use and free to purchase. So could we exploit it or exploit something similar to this? Possibly we should, for sure. What we said about today, we wanted people to come up with ideas on what they can do for this destination for free. Well, you've seen there's some free ideas and examples there. And one thing I think I'd like to see us do in this neck of the woods is to do a lot more crowdsourcing with citizen journalists. And what I mean by that is the people like you and I who are out there, who are using Instagram, and some people have become experts at using Instagrams. They're not formal, professional journalists. No, they're just like you and I who produce content. And some destinations have done this extremely well. They've done got the user or the citizen journalist to do the content generation for them. Invite them down, provide an incentive, get them down here and get them out photographing or doing whatever they want to do, whether it's writing blogs or vines or whatever they might do, but get them out there producing content for this destination so the next visitor can come along and enjoy it. And I think there's an opportunity within that. There's lots of destinations doing this. I think I will write a few blog posts about this in the coming weeks or so to give you some ideas of who's doing what, but there are some good examples out there where this is done. And it's great. So you harness in the power of the smartphone revolution and the move towards citizen journalism. In other words, user-generated content produced by people other than the marketeers. So that's something that I think we could look at, and that's it. Okay, thank you very much. Thanks a lot.